Hello, I'm ShieldWall100 and this is another quick critique video. Yes, I've had another delivery of models through, another batch of new releases from Night Models. Unfortunately, I haven't actually been in touch with which models are released in which order, so I don't know which month's releases these are. I had a bit of a problem on the Night Models website, wasn't allowing me to put orders through for some reason, but I got in contact with them and they sorted it all out, and I put the order back in and here they are, delivered in short order. So I don't know if I was lucky with timing, or if or if there may be other people have had distribution problems with these ones. I simply don't know this time. I have no idea. But what I do know is that I want to get looking at the sculpt quality and the rules for these figures and let you know what I think. So without further ado, this is the batch, but we're going to have a bit of an in-depth look now. Okay? Well, here we are with the first on the chopping block, so to speak. This is the Catwoman release for this round of releases, and yeah, Julie Newmar's version from the TV show, so fits in with the Batman, Robin, and Joker releases we've had so far. And yeah, she follows a very certain pattern. But let's get into the model first, shall we? So yeah, awesomely good sculpt. Yeah, the cat's awesome. I do like. Hang on, bring it up a little bit. Come on, focus. There we are. So yes, little cat on the chair. Very sort of expected sort of pose for her. No filling required at all. I haven't actually put any on the base yet, as you can see. I will be filling in that slotter gap, obviously, but that's no problem. But yeah, look at the sculpt quality. Come on, zoom camera. Come on, I'm just trying to get it so it actually picks out the focus the detail properly. Yeah, it's great. It's another solid piece of work from the sculptors at Night Models. Really nice. And yeah, I don't mind the table being following her around at all, not when the model's this good. So let's see her rules. So here we go. I'm just gonna stand up. Oh, take pressure off the knees. So here she is. Forgive me once again for the quality of the printing I've had to do. This is a post-app world, so I have to print off the cards myself since I don't have a phone capable of getting the app yet, so haha. And never may not for some time. So this is what I'm reduced to, but I can still play the game. So what we got here, so yeah, Catwoman, so yeah, no duplicates, Selena Kyle, same basic naming profile, so you can't mix her with another Catwoman in the same crew. She's a free agent or sidekick for any crew apart from Batman, which is different to the other Catwomen. I think most of the others, I think maybe all of the others, can't work with Joker as opposed to Batman. This one is true to the show, is an antagonist of the good guys. So yeah, 44 rep, again quite cheap for these these TV show versions. So again, possibly playing into the idea that you take her in lower pointed games so you can show people off your models and your collection, that sort of thing. Or maybe you just want to take her as a cheap character, you got some points spare, that sort of thing. $200 funding, which is interesting enough, which means she has a ranged weapon of some sort or something like that. And yeah, we'll come to that in just a moment. But her stats are fairly kind of not too bad for her points value, but nothing to write home about. The 3 attack and 4 defense is really, it's not going to keep her alive massively, and 6 willpower, 6 endurance is kind of standard for 3rd edition now for the, for people. So again, she ain't going to last too long, but movement 12 is pretty awesome. The strength is nothing to write home about though. But let's get onto the weapons there. So claws with Cataphrenia do split damage, 1 blood and 1 stun, which we're seeing a bit more of. The split damage, which I'm fine with. I was kind of getting a bit worried that too many weapons were getting just one sort of damage, either all stun or all blood, which is starting to sort of make the game a little bit too predictable. Split damage means some models go unconscious before they die and vice versa. But the traits for this weapon are where it really comes in. Sharp and Hypnotize is quite a funky combo, really. Sharp mitigates her low strength value there, but Hypnotize is cool. Means if you get any damaging hit, there's a chance when that you'll be able to make an immediate activation with the model she's just hit, which is really cool. I've used Hypnotize for funsies quite a lot during my battle reports, and yeah, I'm sure just the threat of having it there could be annoying, you know, could be quite worrying, sorry, for many opponents, some of whom have got henchmen who hit really hard and yet don't defend particularly well. Looking at you, Black Mask. Anyway, and sneeze bombs, which is must be a show thing. I must have missed that one, same as the Cataphrenia. It's a one-shot thing. It's not throwing either, and it's not a template. I thought at first it would be a template, which is cool, but medium range as well, so she's chucking these quite some distance. So it's like it's obviously a very, it's quite a situational thing, I'm going to guess, because it's one shot, it's not throwing, so if you move before using it, you're going to lose all your attack dice. It doesn't do any damage, but it does cause scared and slow 2, and scared is, I think it's -1 of your attack and defense dice rolls, and slow 2 takes 2 inches off your movement, so you throw this at someone before they activate, and they're kind of stunted for the rest of the turn if you hit them. That's bloody good. I mean, you throw that at a Nightwing, and he becomes attack and defense 3 effectively, which is scary for him. And you can really beat down a Deathstroke. But that said, anyone with Acrobat will be dodging away those attacks. But you know what I mean. You get what I mean. This is again, you can't really, if you ignore this version of Catwoman, you are going to pay the price, because she can annoy you quite seriously in ways that you didn't plan for. Her traits: business agent, criminal, don't mind me, escape artist, night vision, and thief are all ones we have seen on other models. Business agent very much mitigates, and more than mitigates, her $200 funding. It gives you $350 extra funding, which for a model this cheap, and varying ranks, meaning you can fit her in quite relatively easily, she could do really well for a crew which has a lot of guns, which struggles to fit them in sometimes. So I'm looking at you, perhaps the Soldiers of Fortune and Two-Face, with your high firepower counts, but sometimes running out of that, and she's relatively cheap and quite easy to fit into the sidekick or free agent slots in those 2 crews, I'm thinking, because those are the slots which sometimes do get left out due to like pressures elsewhere in the crew. So potential. Criminal's just a keyword, but it does fit in with a bunch of potential other traits, sometimes only affecting henchmen though, so don't get too excited. Don't mind me, I think we saw one of the Penguin's henchmen before. Here we go. So this model receives the same basically this model always gets to make its maximum efforts as it can until it attacks someone in the game. So it is good until you start using these fun things like the sneeze bombs or the claws, but this could keep her alive a bit longer potentially. Again, she doesn't have Acrobat, which is a first for a Catwoman model, and so she won't be making efforts against shooting attacks or anything like that, and those are the sorts of things that could really take her out. So don't think that Don't Mind Me is going to save her life forever, but it could well do the trick. Escape Artist allows her to make a move whenever she's targeted by an attack and knocked out or killed. Pretty cool. Night Vision does what it says on the tin. It means that she can see infinitely in night. Obviously that will help with the sneeze bombs perhaps, but again, in her, it's not like she's got an assault rifle or anything. And Thief is cool because it allows her to, with a special action, her melee attacks not only do they cause hypnotize, they also has the steal effect, and that means you can really mess around with your opponent's hand of objective cards. That's potentially game winning, or potentially just mildly annoying again. I mean, overall pretty solid conclusion you could put into your crew for 44 rep. You're not, again, don't pin your hopes on her ruining your opponent's day, much like the other Catwoman you might have, the one that comes with all the cat counters, which can just completely change the entire face of a game. This one won't do that, but certainly she's got potential there for some of these traits to really kick in and be quite impactful in at least for one turn. She scares the wrong model, which makes him all of a sudden a better target for shooting. Hypnotizes a high-powered henchman with a really powerful rifle or something. Those are all things that can really can really influence a turn. But and again though, she can die. This one can very much get taken out of the game quite easily, so bear that in mind, and just maybe take her for fun in lower pointed games for a model that does something very different, to introduce unusual traits to new players perhaps. Okay, let's carry on. That's the Catwoman Julie Newmar version. Next up is Punchline, a character from the comics who I am not actually aware of, to be perfectly honest. I haven't been following them since Tom King's Batman run from a little while ago, actually, which I really enjoyed. And I just sort of tailed off reading comics because had things to do, and can't do everything at once. I got back into H.P. Lovecraft for a little bit, and here I am now back with Batman again. But nonetheless, Punchline is basically, from what I gather, she is Joker's new sidekick post Harley Quinn, who really has kind of moved on to being her own character, as opposed to just them having to seesaw her, yo-yo her between being a completely independent, villain in her own right, and just going back to being Joker's girlfriend, which kind of undermines Harley's character arc. So I do actually support the introduction of a new villain, new sidekick for Joker with her own new personality. I look forward to reading up on it and finding out for myself. It's a great model, as you can see, so let's get to it. It comes with its own sculpted base, which neatly meets. You see the slotter there goes neatly, very neatly into it. No. When that's painted, I don't think I'll be needing any green stuff to cover up the marks. But here we go. Let's have a good look at her close up. Now, the paint job on the figure, on the artwork, I think really actually sort of hides the detail they've put into the sculpt on the face. I mean, look at that. That's incredible. I mean, there's so much detail on here. I'm really looking forward to painting this, really am, because I take my time over these. And all the sculpted detail on the booties, and even on the card. Look, she's holding a card between two of her fingers, and they are both fully sculpted on. It's great. It's just so good. Right. Just nothing much more to say. Harley Quinn's accoutrement on her base, just a statement of intent right there, as to who this gal is replacing. Right, I'm about to go and have a look at her rules, but I've just noticed the battery is dying on my camera, which is odd. It had 50 minutes left a second ago, so falls on me. Joke's on me, I guess. I'm just going to go change the battery, and I'll be showing you her rules, which are rather interesting. Well, here are her rules, and if we're going to draw any comparisons, the best person to compare here with would be her erstwhile, the person she's replaced, Harley Quinn there. And you'll see there's some similarities in terms of the points costs and the ranks. She's also a sidekick for the Joker crew, same as this young lady here. 66 reputation and $100 funding versus 70 rep, so they're on the same sort of level in terms of commitment to your crew cost wise as well. The stat line is pretty much the same as well. 6 willpower, 7 endurance. And remember these stats, because you're going to see them a lot in this video. 4 attack, 4 defense, 4 plus strength, 12-inch movement, and 3 special. That's pretty much the same stat line for everyone else who's coming up. So obviously good characters today. And so there you go. So her weapons. So she's incredibly fast, and even faster, as we'll see later. Her weapons, she's got poison knives, which is just her standard melee weapon. So she does blood damage, which is a departure from Harley Quinn. Throwing poison knives, so that's where her funding comes from. For again, 1 blood, it's throwing weapons, which means she doesn't lose dice for moving and shooting, which is, I find, really, really, really useful. Sharp with the 4 plus strength gives her a really good chance of getting at least 1 hit, which will then activate poison on your opponent. So poison throughout on this model. And again, remember Joker, he does really benefit from giving poison to people, so she ties into some victory point card scoring on that front, which is more than Harley does, to be honest. I'm going to be fair, be frank. But then again, singular points of blood, not likely to kill many models over the course, on her own, so she might need a little bit of assistance till she wants to off anyone, but she can go around distributing poison. Not quite as good as Gaggy, who bounces around and just distributes it automatically just by landing next to people, but she's a bit more well, you know, she's a bit more versatile than Geggy, and certainly faster to boot, but, you know, naturally anyway. On her stats, she's got Acrobat, of course. She's a female character in DC, therefore she's almost certainly got Acrobat. Aversion, Harley Quinn, that will say on the back of the card, so she can't be included in the same crew as Harley Quinn, which is fair enough. You know, you obviously wouldn't see them in the same crew. That's a bit of fluff there. Disguised Sneak Attack, I'll show you in a moment. Actually, let's do it now. So Disguised Sneak Attack is it's a special action. Basically what it means is you have to, an enemy model within 2 inches, you get an opposed willpower roll against them, which hopefully they'll fail. And again, Joker has a whole bunch of ways to reduce enemies' willpower, so that's pretty useful. It basically makes the enemy can't take defense rolls or make efforts against this model's attacks until the end of the round. So yeah, they are going to get poisoned if they don't manage to do this. So if they don't manage to pass that willpower roll, because yeah, she's going to hit with something. If they can't roll to block, and you know, and they can't make dodge rolls either, so she's throwing her poison knives at them. They can't use efforts to dodge. Yeah, it's going to stuff's going to happen. Fast gives her an extra 2-inch movement, and then add that to the 1 inch with Acrobat, means she's moving 15 inches per activation, which is the same as Harley Quinn. So there you go, she's just as manoeuvrable and fast as Harley Quinn, which, yeah, Harley Quinn's one of the most in the game already, so there you go. Psycho means that she never, hang on, what's it mean? It means that she, yeah, never reduces her willpower under any circumstances. That's kind of marginal, because you never usually see that happen unless you're playing against Joker, but can do, and so it's nice to have. She has Toxicologist, which means if your opponent's already poisoned or you just don't want to cause poison right now, you can reduce the effort limit with innovating, or give them the scared result, which, like before, reduces their stats for, you know, until the end of the turn, which can in turn make them vulnerable to your clowns with chainsaws and whatnot. So yeah, pretty good. But also, when the opponents are making the poison rolls in the end phases, if they're within 8 inches of her, they can take an additional point of blood. So that means instead of taking 1 point of blood or 2, they'll be taking 2 points of blood or 3, which that's pretty massive, to be perfectly honest, especially on low-level henchmen who've already taken damage early in the game. Taking a bunch, doubling the effects of poison effectively, pretty bad. True Love Joker, I don't actually know if, you know, in the comics she is actually in love with him, but obviously she feels strongly enough that they saw fit to give her true love in this. If Joker goes down, she actually becomes willpower 7 and attack 5, which is pretty nothing to sniff at all, but requires you to lose your gang leader first. So again, you don't want to be activating that trait, but it's nice to have. And True Psychopath is one which is special to Punchline here, and I do like it because it ties directly in with one of those the newest objective card which was added in, which is really characterful for Joker. So when an enemy model within 8 inches of this model, I'm guessing, is removed as a casualty, yeah, it will be, you get double the number of markers for, you know, scoring the Psychopath's objective card instead of 1. So this will probably make more sense if you've watched my game reports with the Psychopath card. But yeah, you want more models to be killed than the enemy put down suspect markers, and this basically doubles the number of scores you get for casualties within 8 inches of Punchline. So she just makes it much easier to score that card, and that card is worth 3 victory points. Yeah, so again, you might not need it, you might be scoring Psychopaths easily anyway, but with her, it gives you that little bit of help, and she does mean that this sidekick possibly plays into the strengths of the Joker crew more so than Harley. Harley Quinn is really a very fast-moving double stun mallet, which with a 360-degree attack, which can truly wreck opponents' plans by jumping into the middle of their crew and knocking out 3, possibly 4 models. I've seen it done, and yeah, there's nothing to be upset about with that one. But she doesn't really. I don't think there's hardly any Joker objective cards which really benefit from that sort of behaviour, young lady. So Punchline does that better, but that said, she isn't the pure destructive, chaotic energy of Harley Quinn. But then poison is good, poison is fun, and this model kicks ass. So you've got yourself more options, and we all want more options, don't we? And these two models being more or less interchangeable is a massive benefit. Okay, right, let's get on to the next model. And here we are with another version of the Green Arrow, Oliver Queen himself. A hero very much in his own right, and now the rebirth version of this model, of this character, is available for purchase, and I really like him. He's look at that, that's a great pose, it's a great model. Again, no filling required at all. Very nice, good detail on the face there under the hood, exactly where you'd want to be, and yeah, great hunter's sort of pose on a good scenic base. Really happy with this guy, really happy that there's no filling, and there's no obvious weak points either on the model. Often when you're dealing with models with bows and arrows, you're a bit scared that the unless you're dealing with metal arrows, that they're going to be a bit thin, but yeah, look at that. That's not going to break anytime soon. It's not too. It's a comic, so it's not too stupidly thick. But yeah, I'm going to avoid any jokes about the thickness of Oliver Queen's shaft, obviously. But yeah, that one's not breaking anytime soon, and it's overall another great model. So let's check out his rules. So just stand up. Right, here we go. Green Arrow. Obviously he works for the good guys, so his affinity Batman alone is a sidekick, interestingly, so he can be included alongside Batman or another sidekick, or taken as the boss in his own right if you want to do that. I know you can also use him in Team Arrow as well, of course, but I haven't actually played that team yet, and I don't really know it, so I can't really comment. 80 rep is not an inconsiderable investment in a model, certainly not for a sidekick. This guy's coming in around about your Nightwings kind of area, so yeah, be careful of that. Willpower 7, endurance 8, pretty high for this range. Again, remember that stat line: 4 attack, 4 defense, 4+ strength, 12 inches movement. Dealing with some very fast, very reasonably statted characters today, and yeah, here's Green Arrow's bow. And yeah, it's actually just a standard bow, to be perfectly honest, with its standard arrow loadout, but we'll see later how he specialises. So yeah, it just gets that 1 shot plus the strength die if he's standing still, doing 2 blood. Importantly, 4 rounds of ammunition, so he can shoot every single turn of the game if he's set up properly. And mechanical to give him a 3-up strength die, on the strength die. And aim means he cannot move and shoot normally, but again, we'll come back to that. A whole bunch of stats, which are pretty cool. Acrobat, we know what that does, makes him movement 13, which is damn good. Good aim allows him to spend a special action to be able to move and shoot, even with the aim ability, and give him +1 to hit as well. So yeah, there you go. Hardened is super useful with a character with relatively big willpower and endurance levels, because it means he can every time he's hit, he can swap around some of the damage from between one and the other, so potentially can keep him eking out his life expectancy that bit more. Bloody good. Hunter, I don't know if we've seen that one. I think we might have done, but it's good for him, certainly, if I just find it. So yeah, if he attacks a model which has already activated this turn, he can gets an extra special action, so he can activate Good Aim, or the one that we're going to see later, Rapid Fire, which gives him an extra attack die, which is really handy, because the actual number of attack die he normally gets if you do that rate of fire of 1 there is pretty limited, so pretty much doubling it for if you get rapid fire off is pretty useful. So yeah, if it's attacking someone who's already activated for the turn, yeah, this is where he really comes in. So this is a very you've got to use this guy kind of usefully, but he can also make it so that your opponent is desperately rethinking his strategy, not leaving models out in the open, in sight of Oliver Queen at least, as long as he can't not in sight of Oliver Queen, even if before he's had a chance to move, or after he's had a chance to move, sorry, because you'll mean that this guy's much more dangerous about him. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there. Hope you forgive me. Master Marksman, I believe that gives him, is it rerolls? Yes, he can reroll failed attack dice rolls when performing ranged attacks, as damned well this guy should do. Stealth means he can only be seen up to 8 inches away, which is useful for this guy shooting arrows all over the place. Teamwork 1 with Black Canary is very situational, given the difference between their skill sets, that they might not actually be within 4 inches of each other, but nice little bit of plot there. And the quiver is a rather interesting one. Excuse me, just scratched my old nose. It basically means you get one of these abilities each turn, basically, because you're going to use each one once. It gives him his specialised arrows, which is damn good. So he gets ranged attack stunned, which means the opponent can only move after they've... if he hits someone, then for the rest of the turn they can use movement actions. That's useful. Knockdown and blunt 2 just means you do that extra bit of impact and stun damage to people. It's alright, it's good, it's not bad for freebies though. Here's will add +2 rate of fire to his ranged attack, so he's getting a whole bunch of extra dice. Or for one off, he can do the grapple gun, so it gets, if you want, you can use that to get him into a position where he really needs to be, and yeah, maybe then set up for the rest of the turn to start killing people. So yeah, this guy, Green Arrow, is an interesting one. He's if he was really capable of shooting to death leaders in one go, which he is on a really good day, but you can't rely on it at all, then he'd probably be in a much higher point reputation point range. But for 0 funding, this guy certainly chucks out a lot of offensive firepower. And yeah, you could really do worse than to go for this guy. And of course, if you like the character, this is very much a good representation. And I do know that he's still got quite a little bit of representation in the war gear purchasing options for the Batman team crew. So I think you can still get reinforced gloves and maybe a few other things if memory serves. Would have to check that. So yeah, if you want to invest the funding in him as well, you can beef him up a little bit more. That's always good fun. And yeah, I can't see anything too wrong with this character, this version of the character. He's not like the Alpha and the Omega, but nor should he be. He's a good, solid choice to take in this crew, though. And of course, I think you could also you could also give him what's the word? The non-lethal ammo from the crew deck. The objective card that might tie in with the knockdown and blunt 2 as well to really give this guy a knockout punch. So yes, maybe that's the version of the boxing glove arrow or something that we all love. Anyway, right, I'm going to move on now to the last model in this little batch of releases. But yeah, and he in this one works very well with Oliver Queen, so we'll see her in just a minute. And here she is, the final model today, but by no means the least. No means at all. Black Canary, a character who I do particularly like from the comics, and I'm not entirely certain why. She doesn't really come up that often, but I just think that you just find that she beats the living crap out of people really well, and that's fun. That's cool. Anyone who's got Batgirl's respect for that sort of thing has mine too. Anyway, right, here we go. Black Canary, a really, really nice sculpt. Again, the rebirth version of this character, which again I haven't really seen too much of. My comic book reading is rather lax of late, I'm afraid. And yeah, I couldn't really speak for the pose, but she certainly seems to put across the I'm not that tough sort of attitude, whilst also looking pretty confident about herself. And then she'll probably can you, so yeah, be careful. I'm just trying to... Why can't I focus in on her face? Come on, let's see, come on. There we go, that's better, just about. And yeah, as you can see, lovely amount of detail there. Interestingly, apart from the sculpted base, as you can see, this is all one big model. Just one model, no assembly required, no other assembly required. So that, as you can imagine, goes together really, really, really well. And yeah, minimum amount of cleaning on this one, I might add as well. And yeah, I'm super stoked by that. And yeah, so if you're concerned about small parts or anything, do not be. This is a sound design, and if you like the character, you haven't been let down at all, I hope you can agree. Okay, right, I'm gonna have a look at her rules. So this is an interesting one I noticed a little bit earlier. So there she is, Dinah Lance, Black Canary, a free agent for the Batman crew. Now the blister pack covering shows that she's also in the Birds of Prey crew as well, which is pretty obvious that she would be. Obviously, I think this version, the printable version of the card, is just a bit of an omission there. I expect the app, if it doesn't already, will show her as having affinity for the Birds of Prey as well. Can't imagine why not. No rivals, but doesn't matter. She only works for that crew. To be honest, I mean, I would only really use it for this. My Birds of Prey crew is pretty much just Poison Ivy anyway, but hey. 80 rep, the same as Oliver Queen, Green Arrow just now. So there you go. If you want to take a pairing, they make a nice round 160 rep between them. 7 willpower and 7 endurance is pretty strong for a free agent. Again, 4 attack, 4 defense, and the rest of the stats matching the same as we saw before. So yeah, there you go. I told you to get used to that stat line. She's got a gun. Wasn't aware of that in the comics. It's not a particularly powerful gun, so nothing really to write home about there. Once again, you could get some good use out of with the non-lethal ammo ejected card to get some good scores there. Martial prowess is the same as Detective Gordon gets, or is it Lieutenant Gordon? The young version of Gordon from Year 1 that they released, and I really like as well. Yeah, so this badass character only does a single point of stun with her melee hits. Ooh, boo. But it also comes with overwhelming and critical paralyze. Yay! Which is really cool. Paralyze can really mess up your opponent's plans for the turn, and yeah, you can then just crush their character with something else. So yeah. I mean, it's not like, again, single point of stun damage is as weak as you get for hitting people, but she's not necessarily all about the hitting, and as we'll see in a moment. And she can do this martial prowess, it's martial progress, not martial prowess. Oh, silly me. Anyway, she can do this as well as her special actions, which we'll come to in a minute, but let's see those traits. So acrobat, as you'd expect, so gets her away from that gunfire, and gives her an extra point of maneuver, so movement even, sorry. So 13-inch move again, bloody good. Canary cry, you've seen that before on other versions of her from in the past, but for special, you put the spray template down with her. It's an automatic hit with a sonic special rule. Sonic means the opponent gets -1 to their special stats, so they'll be taking their willpower roll with just 2 dice, and if they fail it, they're taking 1 point of blood, which is nothing too scary, and become stunned, which is very scary across lots of your opponent's models, because it means that if they do activate later in that same turn, they can only do movement actions, so you are crushing the offensive abilities of your opponents. And yeah, not being able to place or pick up objectives, all sorts of things, can really annoy the enemy's plans. If you're not careful, you can end up just, losing your entire ability to score points in one go if you've bunched your low willpower models together. Yeah. Oof, not good at all. And just to pop along a little bit more, she's got reverberation as well, which is an automatic one. She has to use an effort to use it. It only affects her Canary cry for this particular model. I haven't seen reverberation on any of the others. It reduces the special skill of the affected models by 1. Not sure if you'd really want to do that, but hey, because they're already reduced by 1 already, you don't want to reduce them to having a single die on their willpower roll. But never mind. I mean, it might be just me overthinking it. But also, you may inflict the push 4 effect on any models affected by it. So that's potentially grotesquely awesome because you can push people off buildings or other high places. Push 4 basically means if you hit them, they move 4 inches in the direction that you just shot them from. So yeah, and this model, as we saw before, has the ability to get where she needs to be. So you can play some 4D chess with your opponent's models and just push them into areas where perhaps Oliver Queen can see them with a well-placed arrow and murder them that way. There's all sorts of little bits of synergy you can do with all sorts of different models in your crews. Push them into beating range of a Batman or whatever, like I said, pushing them off of really tall buildings, that would be fun. Not for them though. Let's go back to hidden. So she can deploy specially after both sides are deployed, as long as she's out of sight. So again, helps her get into those positions where she can, do her Canary cry. And like I said, don't forget, Canary cry is a special action, so she can do that as well as punching someone. So you can Canary cry, move, and then knock, and then punch someone as well. So yeah, it's just oof. Shockwave is an alternate to her Canary cry because it's another special action. Enemy models within 4 inches of this model suffer the slow 2 effect. Not as good as Canary Cry, but if your opponent is not obliging you by bunching his models together for a spray template, that he's all around you, you can just slow him down quite a lot that way. And slow 2 potentially could stop him from scoring cards as well if you know what he's trying to do. So yeah, it's a great option to have. Stealth means she cannot be seen from further than 8 inches away, much like Oliver Queen again. Useful to have in its circumstances, but when she's mixing it up, maybe not so much, but it stops her from getting sniped sometimes. So yeah, can certainly do that. Street Fighter we've seen with some of the other models. It's coming into vogue now. I think the Night models have seen that it's quite a nice little one there. Basically, you move a friendly suspect within 2 inches to gain 2 free efforts. Could be useful. I mean, potentially. it does mean that you're losing suspect markers, but again, sometimes you don't need them. So yeah, 2 free efforts though is bloody good, especially when you're defending. Sometimes can be the difference between life and death. Street guy is kind of situational, just means you're better at using cover. So yeah, that's handy. Again though, if you're being shot at, hopefully you're acrobating away the bulk of your opponent's dice anyway. But yeah, this could save your buns as well. And again, teamwork 1 green arrow, just to reciprocate what Oliver Queen has from her. During its activation, this model may roll 1 additional die, when he's nearby. Again, if you're both quite nearby each other, then probably one of the models isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, but it's a nice little piece of fluffy bonus there, and if it does work out for you, then more power to you is what I say. So yeah, there you go. Would you use this character? I don't know. She's if you like the character, definitely she's a good option to take. There are other versions of Black Canary you can already use anyway for Birds of Prey, of course. Anyway, 80 rep is quite the investment for a crew already brimming, shall we say, with high-powered heroes who are already quite mobile, and many of which are better at dealing out damage. But she does certainly have a good ability to use the spray template, which is few and far between across all models, especially in the crew for which she's takes part. So there you go. She synergizes much more with other models, I think, than your other sidekicks. But a free agent means that she's not taking up your sidekick slot, so you could take a high-powered leader of Batman of some sort, a decent sidekick, say an Oliver Queen of some sort, and Black Canary as a hefty as well for the free agent, as a hefty investment in your reputation points. But if you want to do a small figure number of crew models, if you want to do a small model count crew is what I was trying to say. I don't know where I went into that one. Then you could end up, you could do worse than taking this one for some small sort of demo games with high-powered characters, just to try them out. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. That's the 4 models that we've got for today. Where are they? Here we go. I think this lot's a nice little release, actually. When you can't do a full crew like with Black Mask, then do some decent characters from the comics and or even the TV shows, and yeah. That's how you get them done, I think. That's that you can get people still buying your product, I hope, and and you get some nice, little flavourful additions to your game as well. Right, well, I'm Shieldall100. I hope you enjoyed this little critique. Let me know what you think of these characters if you want down in the comments. I'd like to see if I've missed any obvious plays out before I start painting them up and using them, definitely. And or if you think they're not particularly good additions, to the arsenals of the various crews they belong to. Okay, I'll see you for the next one, as and when it is. I will be getting some more gaming done at some point. It's just a bit of more of a struggle at the moment whilst I'm working so hard, etc., etc. This is my very much my part-time endeavour. Right, but I hope to see you in the future, and thank you very much for watching. You guys take care. Goodbye.